A single ember pulsed in the hearth. Darkness pressed in, vast and absolute. Outside, the wind whispered through bare branches, a sound centuries old. Here, within these rough-hewn walls, time itself seemed to slow. Every breath became audible. Every shift of settling timber echoed. This wasn't just a house, it was a living, breathing testament to a forgotten way. You might think this is simply a story of hardship and bygone days. A glimpse into a life we've thankfully left behind. But understanding this quiet reality will fundamentally reshape how you find peace in your own bustling, modern world. It offers a blueprint, not for survival, but for profound contentment. We'll trace the forgotten rhythms of an 1862 homestead. We'll uncover why the simplest acts held such profound weight. We'll observe the deep satisfaction born from direct engagement with the land. And we'll begin to see how their understanding of daily life offered something we've almost entirely lost, a true sense of belonging and purposeful calm. This isn't just history, it's a map to a different kind of future. Imagine a world stripped bare of constant noise. No screens glowed. No engines roared. The silence wasn't empty, it was rich. It filled with the crackle of burning wood, the distant hoot of an owl, the gentle rustle of straw in the mattress. This wasn't deprivation. It was an invitation. An invitation to listen, truly listen, to the world around you, and to the quiet hum within. The day began not with an alarm, but with the first hint of gray light. The air held the crisp bite of dawn, even indoors. A thin layer of ice might coat the water bucket. These were not inconveniences, they were signals. Prompts to action. The body responded instinctively. No mental debate, no procrastination. Just a quiet, unhurried movement into the day's first tasks. The stove demanded attention. Cold iron waited for kindling. Fingers, still stiff from sleep, worked with practiced ease. The first spark, a tiny miracle against the gloom, quickly caught. A wisp of smoke, then the comforting scent of pine. This small act, repeated daily, was a foundational ritual. It brought warmth, the promise of food, and the very start of life. It was a tangible creation. Breakfast wasn't a rushed affair. It was a slow, deliberate gathering. Oats simmered over the growing fire. Coffee, ground by hand, filled the air with its robust aroma. Each bite, each sip, was savored. There were no distractions, no phones to scroll, no news to absorb. Only the simple act of nourishment, shared in the soft light of the rising sun. This shared meal was a moment of deep connection, unspoken and profound. Outside, the world was awakening. The frost shimmered on the fields. The air tasted clean, sharp. The land was not just property, it was a partner. It demanded respect. It offered sustenance. Working the soil, tending the animals, felling timber, these were not chores to be endured. They were acts of creation. Each furrow turned, each fence mended, each egg gathered, was a direct contribution to survival and well-being. The rhythm of the work was slow, but steady. No frantic pace. No deadlines imposed by distant bosses. The sun dictated the schedule. The season set the tasks. There was a natural flow, an ebb and tide to the effort. This wasn't idleness, it was efficiency born of deep understanding. Knowing when to push, and when to rest. When to plant, and when to harvest. The tools themselves spoke volumes. They were simple, yet robust. Hammer, saw, axe, plow. Each was an extension of the hand, a direct link between effort and outcome. There were no complex machines to break down, no obscure interfaces to master. Just wood, steel, and muscle. The repair of a tool was an intimate act, understanding its flaws, restoring its purpose. This connection to one's instruments fostered a quiet competence. Evenings brought a different kind of peace. The day's labor was done. The animals were fed. The fire glowed steadily. The lantern cast long, dancing shadows. There was time for mending clothes. For reading a worn book, for quiet conversation. Stories were told. Lessons were shared. The wisdom of generations passed down, not through formal education, but through lived experience and shared narratives. The absence of constant stimulation wasn't a void. It was an opening. An opening for reflection. For contemplation. For simply being. The mind, freed from the endless demands of the external world, could wander. It could process the day. It could dream. This internal landscape, often neglected in our modern lives, was a rich, fertile ground for thought and creativity. The pioneers didn't separate work from life. They were inextricably woven. The home wasn't just a dwelling, it was a workshop, a classroom, a sanctuary. Every member of the family had a role, a contribution. Children learned by doing, by observing, by participating. There was no artificial division between learning and living. Education was practical, immediate, and deeply relevant. This deep integration fostered a powerful sense of purpose. Every action had a direct consequence. Every effort contributed to the collective good. There was no question of meaning. It was self-evident. The food on the table, the warmth in the room, the clothes on their backs, all were direct results of their hands and their minds. This tangible connection to their output provided a satisfaction rarely found in abstract modern labor. The concept of community was also different. Neighbors were not just acquaintances, they were lifelines. In a world where self-sufficiency was paramount, mutual aid was essential. Barn raisings, harvest help, shared resources, these were not acts of charity, but expressions of interdependence. A strong community meant survival. A weak one risked everything. This fostered a genuine bond, a deep trust. Health was understood through a different lens. Sickness was a part of life, managed with home remedies, practical knowledge, and resilience. The body was a tool, respected for its strength, understood for its limitations. There was a directness to their relationship with physical well-being. No complex medical systems, but a profound connection to natural rhythms and the body's own healing capabilities. The seasons weren't just changes on a calendar. They were defining forces. Spring brought renewal, the frantic energy of planting. Summer offered growth, the long days of tending. Autumn delivered harvest, the satisfaction of abundance. Winter demanded introspection, the quiet preparation for the cycle to begin anew. Living so intimately with these cycles instilled a profound patience, a deep respect for natural order. This constant engagement with the natural world shaped their very perception. They saw details we often miss. The subtle shift in cloud formations. The particular song of a bird. The unique texture of different woods. Their senses were finely tuned, honed by necessity and constant interaction. The world was not a backdrop, it was a vibrant, interactive tapestry. This wasn't a life without challenges. Far from it. Hardship was a constant companion. Crop failures, illness, harsh winters, these were real threats. But the approach to these challenges was also different. There was a quiet fortitude, a resilience born from understanding that adversity was simply part of the journey. Not an anomaly, but a given. The moment that changed everything wasn't a sudden, dramatic event. It was the slow, dawning realization that the common narrative of pioneer life, one solely focused on struggle and survival, was incomplete. It missed the profound undercurrent of peace, purpose, and quiet satisfaction that permeated their existence. It overlooked the deep wisdom embedded in their daily routines. It was the understanding that their sleepscape, their quiet reality, wasn't just a byproduct of limited technology. It was a conscious choice, or rather, a natural consequence of a life lived in harmony with fundamental human needs. A life that, by its very nature, cultivated a deep and abiding sense of well-being. This wasn't just about what they didn't have, it was about what they did have. They possessed an intrinsic connection to the sources of their sustenance. They experienced the direct rewards of their labor. They lived within a tight-knit community bound by mutual support. They were deeply attuned to the natural world. These were not luxuries, they were the very fabric of their daily experience, and they produced a profound sense of inner calm. This profound calm wasn't an escape from reality. It was a direct engagement with it. An acceptance of its demands, and a celebration of its gifts. The simple act of splitting wood, feeling the grain give way, smelling the fresh timber, these were moments of pure, unadulterated presence. They were grounding. They were real. This understanding began to shift our perspective. It wasn't about romanticizing the past. It was about recognizing a different way of being, a different relationship with time, with work, with community, and with self. A way that offered profound lessons for anyone seeking to navigate the complexities and anxieties of the modern age. The pioneers didn't seek happiness as an external goal. They cultivated it internally, through a life lived with intention and direct purpose. Their contentment wasn't found in acquisition, but in creation. Not in consumption, but in contribution. Not in speed, but in rhythm. And this, we realized, was the true revelation. This was the quiet power of the 1862 homestead. That quiet power of the 1862 homestead, that profound resonance, often gets mislabeled. Many people, observing the calm images, the slow pace of life, believe its appeal is simple. They see it as a longing for simpler times. A deep, almost genetic, nostalgia for a past that seems less complicated. They imagine the appeal stems from a desire to escape the relentless noise of modern existence. To shed the constant demands of technology and the endless stream of information. This view holds significant weight. It makes sense, after all. Who hasn't felt overwhelmed by the pace of the 21st century? The homestead, with its wood smoke and hand tools, offers a stark contrast. It promises a retreat. A gentle, visual balm for tired minds. This perspective suggests we are merely drawn to the idea of self-sufficiency. The romantic notion of growing your own food, building your own shelter. It speaks to a primal urge to provide, to master one's immediate environment. Yet, this explanation, while comforting, feels incomplete. It describes the symptoms of the appeal, but not its true source. It's like saying a beautiful painting is appealing because of its colors, without understanding the composition, the light, or the emotion it evokes. The common understanding misses a crucial layer. It fails to explain why something so utterly mundane, the chopping of wood, the tending of a garden, the quiet flicker of a lamp, can hold such profound, almost hypnotic, power. Consider the act of stirring a pot over an open fire. On the surface, it's a simple, utilitarian task. A means to an end. But in the context of the homestead, it transforms. It becomes something more. It's not just about cooking a meal, it's about a connection to elemental forces. To fire, to sustenance, to the rhythm of day and night. This deeper pull is often overlooked. It transcends mere nostalgia. The belief that we are simply escaping modern life also falls short. Escape implies a flight from something. But the homestead experience, particularly in its quietest moments, feels more like a journey to something. A rediscovery. A recalibration. It's not just the absence of noise that matters, it's the presence of a different kind of sound. The wind through the pines. The distant call of a bird. The gentle creak of old floorboards. These aren't just background elements, they are essential components of the experience. Many mistake the aesthetic beauty for the entire draw. The rustic charm of weathered timber, the glow of a kerosene lamp, the simple, functional lines of handcrafted objects. These are undeniably beautiful. They soothe the eye and hint at a life lived with purpose. But beauty alone doesn't explain the deep, almost physiological sense of peace it instills. Art can be beautiful and unsettling. The homestead is beautiful and deeply calming. This distinction is vital. It points to something beyond surface appeal. What if the common explanations are merely the first layer of a much deeper truth? What if the real mechanism operates on a level beneath conscious thought? It's not simply a desire for what was, but a craving for what is always present within us, waiting to be reawakened. The prevailing wisdom suggests we yearn for the products of that simpler life, the bread, the warmth, the quiet. But what if we are actually yearning for the process? For the engagement of our hands, the focus of our minds on tangible tasks, the direct feedback from the physical world. The satisfaction derived from seeing a task through, from seed to harvest, from log to hearth. This isn't just about the outcome, it's about the journey itself. Think about the sheer amount of specialized knowledge required for even basic survival in the 19th century. Knowing how to mend a fence, preserve food, or tend to livestock. This wasn't about a nostalgic hobby. It was about existence. The quiet homestead, in its cinematic portrayal, strips away the anxieties of that existence. It leaves only the pure, focused engagement. The methodical, deliberate movements. This is a crucial distinction. We are not drawn to the struggle, but to the meaning found within that struggle. The common explanation, therefore, often frames the homestead's allure as a rejection of the present. A turning away. But perhaps it is actually an invitation. An invitation to reconnect with fundamental human experiences that modern life has obscured. It's a subtle shift in perspective. From viewing it as an escape from to seeing it as an immersion into a state of being that feels profoundly authentic. This is where the standard answers begin to fray. They cannot fully account for the profound, almost visceral response many people feel. It's more than just a passing fancy or a casual interest. It often evokes a deep, resonant chord. A sense of belonging, perhaps, to a way of life that feels inherently right, even if we've never experienced it directly. This isn't just about history. It's about humanity. The pioneer Sleepscape, for instance, isn't appealing just because it's old. It's appealing because it represents a specific kind of sensory environment. An environment where the world outside provides the soundtrack. Where the boundaries between inside and outside blur. Where the elements are not just observed, but felt. The chill in the air, the warmth of the fire, the texture of rough-hewn wood. These are not merely details. They are the fabric of the experience. What everyone gets wrong, then, is mistaking the wrapper for the gift. They focus on the external trappings, the era, the tools, the aesthetic. But the true gift lies deeper. It's in the way these elements combine to create a particular state of mind. A state of focused calm. A sense of agency over one's immediate world. A profound connection to the rhythms of nature. The mistake is in thinking the appeal is about what is shown, rather than how it is shown, and what that evokes within the viewer. It's not the antique churn that captivates us. It's the rhythmic, repetitive motion of churning butter, the tangible transformation of cream into sustenance, the quiet satisfaction of a completed task. This is an internal process, mirrored by external action. This isn't about rejecting progress. It's about understanding the fundamental human needs that persist, regardless of technological advancement. The need for purpose. For connection. For moments of profound, unhurried presence. The homestead offers a powerful, distilled version of these needs being met. The common view suggests we are simply looking backward. But the truth is, we are looking inward. The images of the 1862 homestead serve as a mirror. They reflect a part of ourselves that often lies dormant. A part that thrives on simplicity, on tangible effort, on the quiet satisfaction of a day well spent. This introspection is far more powerful than mere nostalgia. It's not about wishing for a return to 1862. It's about recognizing timeless principles. Principles of peace, presence, and purpose. Principles that resonate deeply, even in a world vastly different from the one depicted. The homestead, in its quiet authenticity, taps into something universal. Something inherent in the human condition. So, if it's not just nostalgia, or escape, or aesthetic charm, what then is the true, underlying mechanism? How does this quiet reality operate on us? How does it bypass our conscious defenses and speak directly to something deeper? The answer lies not in what is present, but in what is absent from the scene. And that, we discovered, changes everything. The previous segment left us with a potent question: if the profound appeal of the 1862 Homestead isn't merely nostalgia, or a simple escape, or even its undeniable aesthetic charm, what then is its true, underlying mechanism? How does this quiet reality operate on us? How does it bypass our conscious defenses and speak directly to something deeper? The answer, as we hinted, lies not in what is present, but in what is profoundly absent from the scene. And that, we discovered, changes everything. For generations, the prevailing wisdom has told us that to find peace, to achieve a sense of fulfillment, we must add. We accumulate experiences. We seek out more connections. We fill our lives with richer information, grander adventures, and a constant stream of new possessions. This is the cultural narrative we've inherited, reinforced daily. It suggests that happiness is a destination reached by acquiring more, by expanding our personal horizons. But stand within the hushed walls of that 1862 homestead, or gaze across its fields under a vast, unhurried sky, and a different truth begins to emerge. This environment doesn't add to your life. It doesn't offer a new experience to tick off a list. Instead, it systematically subtracts. It begins a process of quiet, profound removal. This isn't just about taking away noise or distractions, it's about peeling back a fundamental layer of modern existence, a layer so deeply embedded we rarely even perceive its constant presence, much less its cumulative drain. What exactly is being subtracted? It's not just the obvious screens or the relentless pings of notifications. Those are merely symptoms. The real absence is far more pervasive. It's the absence of what we might call the attentional burden, the constant, low-level hum of demands on our mental energy that defines contemporary life. Think of it as an invisible tax on your consciousness, paid minute by minute, hour by hour. Imagine the quiet dawn breaking over the homestead. The air is still, save for the distant crow of a rooster, or the rustle of wind through dry grass. There is no immediate flood of information. No headlines screaming for attention. No urgent emails demanding a reply. No social media feeds scrolling endlessly, presenting curated versions of other lives. The day unfolds with a different rhythm. Tasks are immediate, tangible, and finite. Our modern world, by contrast, operates on an entirely different principle. From the moment we wake, we are immersed in an ocean of cognitive demands. Even when not actively engaged, our minds are unconsciously processing a vast array of potential inputs. The phone, even when silent, represents a constant possibility of interruption. The internet, even when closed, holds the promise of infinite information, endless choices, and perpetual comparison. Every advertisement, every news alert, every fleeting thought of an overdue task or an unread message, however small, demands a tiny fraction of our mental bandwidth. This isn't necessarily negative in isolation. Each piece might seem insignificant. But the cumulative effect is like a persistent, low-grade fever for the mind. It's a subtle tension, a background hum of readiness and potential overwhelm. We've grown so accustomed to it, we rarely recognize it as a state of constant, low-level stress. Our brains are always on alert, always scanning, always processing. We're constantly making micro-decisions, evaluating inputs, and suppressing irrelevant data. The 1862 Homestead, however, possesses an almost surgical precision in its ability to eliminate these burdens. There is no phone to check. No internet to scroll. No global news cycle to track. No advertising to filter. The social pressures are immediate and contained within the household or a small community, not projected across a digital landscape. The choices are fewer, simpler, and more direct: what to eat, what to mend, what to plant, where to gather wood. This absence isn't a void. It is, profoundly, a release. When these layers of attentional burden are systematically stripped away, something remarkable begins to happen. The mental fever breaks. The hum fades. The mind, no longer constantly bracing for external input, begins to settle. It's like removing a heavy, unseen weight that you never realized you were carrying. And in that space, something dormant begins to awaken. A different kind of awareness emerges. The senses, no longer dulled by constant stimulation, become sharper. The texture of rough-hewn wood, the scent of wood smoke, the subtle shift in light as clouds pass over, these details, often overlooked in the rush of modern life, become vivid. The immediate environment takes on a heightened significance. The mundane tasks of daily living are no longer merely chores to be completed, but complete experiences in themselves. Chopping wood isn't just a means to an end, it's a rhythmic engagement of muscle and mind, the sharp ring of the axe, the satisfying split of the grain, the scent of fresh timber. Tending a small garden isn't just about cultivating food, it's a communion with soil, seed, and season, a slow dance of observation and gentle intervention. Each action becomes infused with a present moment focus that is almost impossible to sustain amidst the fragmented demands of the contemporary world. This, then, is the hidden mechanism. It's not about adding something new to find peace, but about restoring a natural state of being. It's about unburdening the mind from the artificial complexities and constant low-level demands that we have unknowingly integrated into our daily lives. The homestead doesn't just offer a simpler time, it offers a simpler mind, by removing the very things that constantly pull our attention outwards and dissipate our inner resources. The quiet of the homestead isn't just the absence of sound, it's the absence of demand. The simplicity isn't merely a lack of possessions, it's a lack of choice paralysis and information overload. This isn't just about slowing down, in a vague sense. It is about actively reclaiming your attention, your internal space, and ultimately, your capacity for genuine presence. It's a profound recalibration. This powerful subtraction explains why the standard answers to finding peace, the constant pursuit of more, of new experiences, of external validation, ultimately fall short. They attempt to fill a void that isn't truly empty, but rather choked with unseen demands. The homestead's lesson is contrarian, true richness often comes from thoughtful reduction. But how deep does this absence go? What does it truly feel like to live without these invisible burdens, and what profound transformations does that release unlock in our minds and bodies? The full impact is something few of us have ever truly experienced. The profound impact is something few of us have ever truly experienced. We often assume the appeal of an 1862 homestead simply stems from the absence of modern technology. No smartphones, no internet, no electric lights. This explanation feels intuitive, a comforting narrative of escaping digital overload. It suggests that shedding these recent inventions automatically grants a simpler, more peaceful existence. This perspective, however, overlooks a deeper, more fundamental truth about human cognition and our environment. Many imagine pioneer life as a pastoral idyll, free from the complexities of the present day. They picture quiet evenings by firelight, days spent in harmony with nature's rhythms, and minds unburdened by constant digital demands. This vision captures a certain longing, a desire for respite from our always-on world. It champions the notion that a life without gadgets is inherently a life of peace. We project our modern anxieties onto the past, believing that merely removing our screens would unlock an ancient tranquility. But this romanticized view, while appealing, misses a critical distinction. Life in 1862 was anything but simple in its daily demands. Pioneers faced immense physical hardship. The days were long, filled with backbreaking labor, clearing land, planting crops, tending livestock, chopping wood, drawing water. Survival itself was a relentless, often brutal, endeavor. Disease was rampant, medical care rudimentary, and the elements often unforgiving. There was no easy button, no convenient delivery service, no escape from the relentless cycle of physical toil. Therefore, attributing the Homestead's unique sleepscape solely to simplicity misunderstands the nature of their burdens. Their lives were physically arduous, yes. Yet, these struggles engaged a different part of the human experience. The challenges were concrete, immediate, and often repetitive. They demanded physical strength, resilience, and practical problem-solving. But they did not impose the same kind of cognitive load that defines our modern existence. This distinction is crucial to understanding the true source of that profound, quiet appeal. Consider the mental landscape of a pioneer. While physically exhausted, their minds were often free from the constant barrage of fragmented information we endure today. There were no urgent notifications demanding immediate attention, no endless streams of news to process, no digital comparisons to provoke anxiety. Decisions were often local, tangible, and directly related to the physical environment. The world around them, though harsh, offered a coherent, predictable sensory experience. Contrast this with the modern predicament. Our lives are saturated with invisible, yet deeply taxing, cognitive demands. We navigate complex social structures, manage schedules, respond to emails, process financial data, and constantly make microdecisions driven by external stimuli. Our brains are perpetually on call, shifting attention rapidly between disparate tasks. This relentless cognitive switching, this constant state of partial attention, is a silent drain on our mental energy. It creates a background hum of stress that we often don't even consciously register. The silent drain of this cognitive overload profoundly impacts our ability to truly rest. Even when we're physically still, our minds race, replaying scenarios, anticipating future demands, or scrolling through digital feeds. This fragmented attention prevents the deep processing and consolidation that restful sleep requires. It's not just about the presence of screens, but the absence of uninterrupted mental space. The standard answer suggests merely removing the screen, but it fails to address the underlying cognitive fragmentation that remains. The true absence in the 1862 Homestead was not just of machines, but of the relentless demands on our attentional system. Their days, though physically demanding, allowed for a different kind of mental state. Tasks like churning butter, mending fences, or preparing meals, while laborious, were often rhythmic and deeply embodied. They fostered a state of focused presence, allowing the mind to wander creatively or to simply observe the immediate environment without interruption. This unbroken focus is a luxury almost entirely lost to us. Furthermore, the sensory landscape of 1862 was fundamentally different. The rhythm of light and dark was dictated by the sun and moon, not by artificial illumination. Sounds were primarily natural: wind in the trees, birdsong, the rustle of animals, the crackle of a fire. These natural cues provided a consistent, calming input to the nervous system. The quiet of the homestead was not just an absence of noise, but a specific quality of sound that allowed the mind to settle, rather than constantly react. Our modern world, by contrast, is a symphony of artificial stimulation. Fluorescent lights disrupt our circadian rhythms. Constant background noise, from traffic to digital alerts, keeps our auditory processing systems on high alert. Even when we seek quiet, our minds are often conditioned to expect and respond to digital pings. This constant, subtle assault on our senses prevents the deep relaxation necessary for genuine restoration. Our bodies might be still, but our nervous systems remain agitated. The standard answer, focusing only on a lack of technology, therefore falls short. It simplifies a complex interaction between environment, cognition, and human physiology. The profound appeal of the pioneer sleepscape wasn't just about what wasn't there, but about the quality of what was there: the uninterrupted focus, the rhythm of the day, the lack of constant, external cognitive demands. This fundamental difference reshaped their minds and bodies, fostering a depth of rest few of us now experience. But how exactly did this reshape their very biology? That profound shift wasn't merely about feeling less stressed. It began to rewire the very architecture of their nervous systems. Imagine a landscape where the wind whispers, not howls. Where the only light is from the sun or moon. No sudden flashes, no jarring sounds. This environment allowed the brain's default mode network, the system active during mind-wandering and introspection, to truly settle. It wasn't constantly on high alert, scanning for the next digital demand. This sustained quietude fostered a deeper parasympathetic response, the body's rest and digest mode, not as a brief reprieve, but as a foundational state. Contrast this with the modern brain. It's a battlefield of notifications, an inbox perpetually overflowing, a news cycle that never sleeps. Our nervous systems are wired to respond to novelty, to perceived threats. Every ping, every headline, every social media update triggers a micro-release of cortisol and adrenaline. These aren't just emotional responses. They are precise, biological cascades designed for survival. We might not feel stressed in the traditional sense, but our bodies are constantly navigating a low-level state of sympathetic arousal. This is why a 10-minute meditation, while beneficial, often feels like a tiny splash in an ocean of overstimulation. It cannot fundamentally reset a system perpetually primed for action. The standard answers, in their simplicity, often miss this systemic biological burden. The endocrine system, our complex network of hormone-producing glands, also operated on a different rhythm. In a world dictated by natural light and physical exertion, cortisol, the primary stress hormone, had distinct peaks and troughs. It rose with the sun, fueling activity, and naturally receded as evening approached, paving the way for melatonin and deep, restorative sleep. This predictable cycle allowed the adrenal glands to truly recover. The body had permission to downregulate, to repair, to rebuild at a cellular level without constant interruption. But today, our internal clocks are in perpetual twilight. Artificial light stretches our day far beyond its natural limits. Screens bombard our eyes with blue light, signaling to the brain that it's still noon, even as the clock ticks past midnight. Our schedules are often erratic, dictated by global workforces or endless entertainment options. This constant disruption confuses the body's natural signaling. Cortisol levels remain elevated long after they should decline, disrupting melatonin production. The body, unable to fully disengage from its stress response, enters a state of chronic fatigue, even if we're technically getting enough hours of sleep. Just trying to relax won't fix a deeply misaligned circadian rhythm. Beyond the hormones, consider the very fabric of our attention. In a world of fewer distractions, a task, once begun, could often be completed without interruption. When the mind moved from one activity to the next, it did so cleanly. There was no attention residue, that lingering mental echo of an unfinished email, a half-read article, or a pending notification. The mind was free to fully engage with the present moment, then fully disengage. This fostered a mental clarity and depth of focus that few of us now experience. It allowed for true cognitive rest, a state where the brain could consolidate memories, process emotions, and prepare for future demands without background noise. Today, we are praised for multitasking, for juggling multiple projects, for being always on. But each context switch, each jump from one task to another, leaves a fragment of our attention behind. That email you pause to check. Its ghost still hovers in your peripheral awareness. The social media feed you scrolled through. Its algorithms are still subtly influencing your thoughts. This accumulation of attention residue doesn't just make us less productive, it actively prevents the mind from ever truly resting. It's like trying to clean a room while new dirt is constantly being tracked in. This isn't a matter of willpower. It's a fundamental design flaw in how we engage with our technologically saturated world. Our standard answers, often urging us to push through or manage our time better, completely miss this critical, biological impact on our capacity for true mental recovery. The quiet power of the 1862 Homestead, that profound resonance, often gets mislabeled. We often assume its appeal stems purely from a romanticized vision of the past. A simple longing for things we imagine were easier, slower, or more peaceful. We might see a crackling fire, a hand-stitched quilt, or a freshly baked loaf, and instantly connect to a feeling of warmth, of coziness. That's the surface explanation, the easy answer. But the evidence, when you truly look, tells a more intricate story. It reveals a landscape of activity, not just passive comfort. Consider the very act of living there. The homestead isn't a passive refuge from the world, it's a constant engagement with it. Every single day, from dawn until dusk, demands a specific, varied kind of attention. Fetching water from the well isn't just a task, it's a rhythmic, physical effort, the bucket's weight increasing with each step. Chopping wood for the stove isn't just fuel, it's a precise, focused movement, each swing of the axe demanding coordination and foresight. Planting seeds isn't just gardening, it's an intimate connection with the earth, requiring patience, observation, and a deep understanding of natural cycles. This is the first piece of evidence that complicates the picture. The peace isn't an absence of activity. It's an integration of activity, deeply embedded in the rhythm of life itself. But what does this different kind of engagement actually achieve? Our modern lives often demand a narrow, intense focus. We stare at screens, process information, and respond to constant digital stimuli, engaging the same specific neural pathways for hours on end. This creates a kind of cognitive tunnel vision, exhausting certain mental resources while leaving others dormant. The homestead, by contrast, activates a far broader spectrum of human capabilities. It calls upon our spatial awareness as we navigate the land, our tactile senses as we work with tools and materials, our problem-solving skills as we mend a fence or preserve food. It's a full-body, full-mind experience. This isn't just a mental shift, it's a biological one. Engaging these diverse pathways allows the overused circuits of modern life to finally rest. It's like switching from a high-speed, congested highway to a network of winding, scenic country roads. The pace changes, the scenery shifts, and the journey itself becomes restorative. Consider the profound difference in how attention itself is spent. We often seek distraction as an escape from stress. We scroll through feeds, binge-watch shows, or lose ourselves in games, hoping to momentarily forget our worries. But distraction, by its very nature, often requires another form of cognitive effort, another kind of input that can be just as demanding, just as depleting. The homestead offers something fundamentally different, diffuse attention. Think of walking through a forest. You're not focusing intensely on any single thing, but your senses are alive to the rustle of leaves, the scent of pine, the play of light and shadow. Your mind is engaged, but not strained. The tasks of the homestead, kneading dough, mending fabric, tending to animals, often involve this same diffuse attention. They are absorbing, requiring presence and care, but rarely demand the kind of high-stakes, hyper-focused attention that drains us. This specific type of attention allows for mental repair, a gentle recalibration of our internal landscape. This isn't just about what you do but what you don't experience. The absence of certain stimuli is just as significant as the presence of others. In our hyper-connected world, we're constantly bombarded by notifications, alerts, and the pervasive hum of digital communication. Each ping, each vibration, is a tiny demand on our attention, a subtle disruption that pulls us out of the present moment. This constant state of readiness, of being on call, creates a low-grade, chronic stress that few of us even consciously register anymore. The homestead offers a stark contrast. There are no notifications. The only alerts are the crow of a rooster, the changing weather, or the needs of livestock. This isn't an absence of all input, it's an absence of unpredictable, externally imposed, high-demand input. The sensory environment is rich, but it's predictable, harmonious, and largely self-directed. The sounds are natural, the tasks are tangible, and the pace is set by the rhythms of the earth, not the demands of an algorithm. The sheer tangibility of every action reveals another layer. In our modern work, particularly in knowledge-based roles, the connection between effort and outcome can be incredibly abstract. We send emails, attend virtual meetings, and manipulate data, often without seeing the immediate, physical results of our labor. This can lead to a sense of disconnect, a feeling that our efforts don't quite matter in a tangible way. The homestead operates on an entirely different principle. Every action has a visible, immediate consequence. You chop wood, and the pile grows, the house becomes warmer. You plant seeds, and green shoots emerge. You churn butter, and a solid, creamy block appears. This isn't just about efficiency, it's about the profound psychological reward of seeing direct, undeniable progress. It's a direct feedback loop that affirms your agency, your competence, your place in the world. This tangible progress, often absent in digital work, offers deep psychological reward. Yet, the most overlooked evidence lies in what it doesn't require of you. Modern life often demands an enormous amount of self-regulation and emotional labor. We navigate complex social dynamics, manage interpersonal conflicts, and constantly adjust our behavior to fit various social and professional expectations. We perform, we present, we often suppress our true feelings to maintain harmony or achieve goals. This constant masking and emotional management is profoundly draining. The homestead, in its isolation and simplicity, minimizes much of this social complexity. Your primary relationship is with the land, the animals, and the immediate demands of survival. There's less need for performance, less external judgment, less pressure to conform. This reduction in social and emotional burden frees up significant mental resources. It allows for a kind of authentic self-expression that is rarely possible in our interconnected, scrutinized world. And this freedom allows for something truly profound to emerge. It allows for a deep recalibration of our sense of self and purpose. When the external noise quiets, and the demands for performance recede, we are left with the core of who we are, stripped of the layers of expectation and digital identity. The evidence suggests that this isn't merely a quaint escape, it's a deliberate, almost therapeutic, re-engagement with fundamental human capacities. It's a return to a state where our hands, our minds, and our bodies work in concert towards clear, tangible ends. The peace isn't just about quiet, it's about the deep satisfaction of meaningful effort, the quiet hum of a mind truly at rest, because it's engaged in exactly what it was designed to do, without the constant digital static. This is the quiet reality often missed by the simple narrative of nostalgia. It's a profound reset, a biological imperative answered. So, what exactly is happening beneath the surface, driving this powerful response? The prevailing wisdom suggests a simple yearning for a bygone era. We often imagine a life stripped bare, free from the crushing weight of modern demands. A tranquil existence, dictated by the sun and seasons, feels like a balm to our overstimulated minds. This quiet longing for an unburdened past, a return to fundamentals, seems like the obvious explanation for the magnetic pull of that 1862 homestead. It's a comforting thought, a gentle fantasy of self-sufficiency and peace. But the reality of pioneer life, etched into countless journals and historical accounts, tells a profoundly different story. Far from simple, the frontier was a crucible of relentless effort and constant peril. The land was unyielding, the elements unforgiving. Every meal, every shelter, every moment of warmth was earned through backbreaking labor and an acute awareness of nature's indifference. Pioneers didn't choose simplicity, they wrestled with complexity on a primal scale, battling for mere survival against odds we can scarcely comprehend today. This stark contrast between our imagined ideal and the historical truth creates a crucial turning point in our understanding. If it wasn't simple, if it wasn't easy, then what exactly is it that truly resonates? What is it about that era, beneath the veneer of hardship, that still calls to us so powerfully? Consider the idea of coziness. We project a warm, inviting glow onto the hearths of those rustic cabins. We picture families gathered close, safe within their sturdy log walls, protected from the vast, untamed wilderness. This image evokes a deep sense of security, a primal comfort against the unknown. It feels like a return to a fundamental human need for shelter and belonging. Yet, the actual conditions inside an 1862 homestead were often far from what we would consider cozy. Cabins were drafty, with gaps between logs allowing wind and cold to seep in. Heating was a constant struggle, fires demanding endless fuel and vigilance. Winters brought biting cold that penetrated every corner, while summers invited swarms of insects and stifling heat. Disease was a constant threat, and privacy, a luxury almost unknown. These homes were fortresses of necessity, not bastions of comfort. The profound feeling of warmth we experience isn't a memory of their physical comfort, but something deeper, a longing for a specific kind of internal security, forged through direct effort and tangible results. It's a psychological coziness, perhaps, born from the mastery of immediate needs, but it isn't derived from physical ease. This distinction is vital to understanding the true appeal. The concept of a biological imperative also demands closer inspection. It suggests a general human need for purpose, for connection to the natural world, for a life lived in harmony with our innate design. Many contemporary movements and activities aim to fulfill these broad desires: gardening, hiking, mindfulness practices. They offer a sense of grounding and well-being. But if it were merely a general imperative, why does this specific historical moment, the 1862 Homestead, hold such a unique and potent grip on our collective imagination? Why not the life of a medieval farmer, or an ancient hunter-gatherer? The answer lies not in a broad, abstract connection, but in very precise, often overlooked, sensory and behavioral patterns that were intrinsic to that particular frontier existence. These patterns, now largely absent from modern life, trigger something far more specific than a general longing. They speak to an ancestral rhythm, a predictable cycle of effort and rest, dictated by the immutable laws of the sun and seasons, a rhythm our bodies and minds were originally designed to follow. What then, were these specific patterns? One of the most profound shifts from that era to ours is the transformation of our auditory landscape. We often imagine the frontier as a place of profound silence, a welcome respite from the cacophony of modern life. No traffic, no sirens, no constant digital alerts. The thought of such quietude brings a palpable sense of relief, a deep yearning for stillness. However, pioneer life was far from silent. The wind howled through poorly sealed walls. Animals, both domestic and wild, filled the air with their sounds. The constant creak and groan of a wooden home, expanding and contracting with temperature changes, formed a persistent backdrop. The rhythmic sounds of manual labor, an axe splitting wood, a hammer striking, a churn clanking, were ever present, marking the passage of the day. It wasn't a lack of sound, but a different kind of sound. These were organic, predictable, and directly linked to survival and environment. They offered a unique form of auditory comfort, a predictable symphony of life unfolding, a stark contrast to the unpredictable, often jarring, artificial noises that define our current existence. This subtle difference in soundscape provided a profound and often unconscious sense of order. The visual environment, particularly the lightscape, also underwent a radical transformation. We romanticize the soft glow of candlelight, the dramatic beauty of dawn breaking over an open field, the purity of natural light dictating the day's activities. This vision promises a return to a natural circadian rhythm, a reconnection to the Earth's primal clock. Yet, this natural cycle also meant profound darkness for a significant portion of the day. After dusk, activities were severely limited. Reading, intricate craftwork, or prolonged social interaction beyond the immediate circle of the hearth fire became challenging, if not impossible. The absence of widespread artificial light meant that the world truly went dark, a condition few modern humans ever experience. The power wasn't simply in the presence of natural light, but in its unbroken, predictable cadence. Our bodies, biologically tuned to this ancient rhythm, respond powerfully to its imagined return. The consistent rise and fall of light, the deep, unpolluted darkness, provided a fundamental regulation for human physiology, a regulation we have now almost entirely overridden. This constant, rhythmic visual input profoundly shaped daily life, and ultimately, our internal state. Beyond the sensory inputs, the physical demands of pioneer life represent another critical divergence. We acknowledge the hard work, seeing it as part of a tough but rewarding existence. We recognize the satisfaction of honest labor, the pride in building something with one's own hands. This resonates deeply with our intrinsic need for purpose and accomplishment. However, the sheer, relentless physical demand of pioneer life went far beyond our modern understanding of exercise, or hard work. It was an exhaustive, often painful, and ceaseless engagement with the environment. Every task, from fetching water to tending crops, from building fences to preparing food, required significant physical exertion. There was little time for leisure, and the body was constantly pushed to its limits. Yet, this constant physical engagement, tied directly to immediate survival and tangible outcomes, provided a profound sense of accomplishment and bodily integration that is largely missing in our sedentary lives. The body was a tool, constantly used and perfected, its efforts directly reflected in the well-being of the family. This direct link between physical effort and tangible reward is a critical piece of the puzzle, revealing a profound disconnect in our own lives. If it's not simply the absence of modern noise, or the presence of simple comforts, or even just a general biological imperative, then what exactly is the true turning point in our understanding of this powerful draw? The common thread through all these harsh realities, through the relentless effort and the stark environment, is a deep, unwavering coherence between effort, environment, and outcome. Every action had immediate, understandable consequences. There was no ambiguity, no abstract labor detached from its result. Planting a seed led to food. Chopping wood led to warmth. Building a wall led to shelter. The mind and body operated in perfect, undeniable synchronicity with their surroundings. This coherence, this direct cause and effect loop, is the profound reset. Our minds and bodies are wired for it, yet starved of it in a world of complex, often invisible, systems. The pioneer sleepscape isn't just about sleep, it's about a life lived in perfect, albeit challenging, synchronicity with fundamental human design. It's about a world where every action had meaning, where effort directly translated into survival, and where the natural rhythms of life were honored without question. This brings us to the deeper research, and what it truly reveals about our own innate needs. The quiet power of the 1862 Homestead, that profound resonance, often gets mislabeled. It's easy to dismiss it as mere nostalgia, a yearning for simpler times. But the deeper research tells a more complex story. It suggests our fascination isn't simply about what was lost, but what fundamental human needs were met then, and are so often unmet now. Consider the prevailing wisdom. It suggests a simple yearning for a bygone era, a romanticized escape from modern chaos. This view, however, overlooks the intricate wiring of the human brain. We don't just crave less complexity, we crave a different kind of engagement. Research into neurobiology and cognitive psychology points to a profound, innate need for tasks offering direct, tangible feedback. The Homestead provided this in abundance. We often find ourselves overwhelmed by the abstract nature of modern work. Emails, spreadsheets, endless meetings, the impact of our effort can feel distant, even invisible. But studies on human motivation, particularly self-determination theory, consistently highlight competence as a core psychological need. We need to feel effective, capable, and skilled. On an 1862 homestead, every action offered immediate proof of mastery. The fence you built stood firm against the wind. The seeds you planted became food on your table. The tools you repaired worked. This wasn't just simplicity, it was a profound sense of self-efficacy, a direct connection between effort and tangible result. The satisfaction wasn't just in the outcome, but in the visible, undeniable proof of one's own capability. Modern life often presents an overwhelming array of choices, promising ultimate freedom. We can choose our careers, our diets, our entertainment from an almost infinite menu. But paradoxically, this abundance often leads to something called decision fatigue. Our cognitive resources become drained by the sheer volume of options, leaving us anxious, less decisive, and ultimately, less satisfied. The homestead, by its very nature, simplified decisions. Priorities were clear: food, shelter, warmth. The environment imposed natural constraints, narrowing the field of choice. This wasn't a lack of freedom, but a different kind of liberation. It freed cognitive resources, allowing for deep, focused work, a state our brains find inherently satisfying. The path forward was often difficult, but rarely ambiguous. Our modern lives frequently push against natural cycles. Artificial light extends our days, allowing us to work and socialize long after the sun has set. Our schedules are often dictated by clocks and calendars, rather than the rhythms of the natural world. This detachment, however, comes at a cost. Research in chronobiology vividly demonstrates the profound negative impact of disrupting our natural sleep-wake cycles and seasonal rhythms. Chronic sleep deprivation, seasonal affective disorder, and a general sense of disconnect can all stem from this misalignment. The 1862 Homestead, by necessity, forced an alignment with the sun and seasons. Days began with the dawn, work shifted with the harvest, and winters brought a natural slowing. This wasn't just about early mornings, it was about a deep, biological harmony that reduced stress and enhanced overall well-being. It was a life lived in sync, rather than in opposition, to the fundamental forces of the planet. We are often conditioned to chase external rewards in our work, promotions, bonuses, public recognition. While these have their place, psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi's groundbreaking work on flow reveals a deeper truth. The most fulfilling experiences, he found, come not from external validation, but from tasks that are challenging yet achievable, demanding our full absorption. This state of flow is where time seems to disappear, where the work itself becomes its own reward. Homesteading was a constant series of these tasks. Building a barn, repairing a plow, cultivating a stubborn patch of land, each demanded focus, skill, and persistent effort. The immediate feedback, the gradual progress, and the sheer immersion in the task fostered deep engagement and a profound sense of purpose. It was a life rich with opportunities to enter that deeply satisfying state, day after day. Beyond individual competence and the joy of flow, humans possess a fundamental craving for autonomy, the feeling of control over their own lives, and for contribution to something tangible and meaningful. In many modern roles, we can feel like cogs in a larger, impersonal machine, our individual impact diluted or invisible. The homestead offered both in their purest forms. The homesteader had complete control over their land, their labor, and their daily decisions. Every seed planted, every animal tended, every structure built was a direct act of self-reliance. This direct provision for oneself and one's family satisfied a primal need for self-sufficiency and meaningful contribution. It wasn't just a place to live, it was a canvas for personal agency, a testament to what one could build and sustain with their own hands and will. This goes far beyond mere nostalgia, it taps into the very essence of human drive. We often view modern conveniences as unqualified progress, unburdened by any downside. The washing machine frees us from the scrub board, the supermarket from the garden hoe. And in many ways, these advancements have indeed improved our lives, lessening physical toil and expanding opportunities. But this progress has also come with unseen, often unacknowledged costs. It has led to an erosion of tangible skills, a profound abstraction of labor, and a systemic disruption of our natural rhythms. We've traded direct, visible impact for efficiency, and intrinsic satisfaction for convenience. The research doesn't suggest we abandon modern life and return to 1862. Far from it. Instead, it illuminates what fundamental human needs were consistently met in that seemingly simpler existence, needs that are now frequently unaddressed in our complex world. Understanding this distinction, between superficial nostalgia and deep-seated human drivers, changes everything about how we perceive our own desires and, crucially, how we might begin to fulfill them in the present day. Research reveals that the yearning many describe as nostalgia often masks something far more profound. It points not to a simple desire for the past itself, but to an unfulfilled longing for fundamental human experiences. These are the bedrock of our psychological well-being. Think of them as universal needs, woven into the very fabric of our being. They include the need for genuine connection, for a sense of competence and mastery, for autonomy in our choices, and for a deep-seated feeling of security. When these needs are met, life feels rich and meaningful. When they are not, a subtle ache begins. This ache, often misinterpreted, might manifest as a wistful glance backward. We might believe we missed the 1980s, for instance. But what if we actually missed the feeling of community, the slower pace, or the sense of possibility that era represented for us? The research suggests this is precisely the case. We mistake the container for the contents. The old TV show isn't the true object of desire. Instead, it's the comfort, the shared experience, or the predictable routine it once offered. This is where the distinction becomes powerful. If we chase only the superficial trappings of the past, the retro aesthetics, the vintage items, we might find a momentary flicker of warmth. But that warmth quickly fades. It's like trying to quench a deep thirst with a single drop of water. The underlying human need remains unaddressed. Therefore, true fulfillment demands a different approach. It asks us to look beyond the surface. Psychologists have explored this extensively. They map out the core components of human thriving. Dr. Clay Routledge, a leading expert on nostalgia, explains that it often serves as a psychological resource. It can remind us of past strengths, of supportive relationships, and of our own resilience. But this is a tool, not the destination. It's a pointer, guiding us toward what we truly value. Consider the feeling of security. In a rapidly changing world, the past can seem like a bastion of stability. We yearn for a time when things felt simpler, more predictable. But the research doesn't suggest we can rewind time. Instead, it suggests we can actively cultivate security in our present lives. We can build stronger local communities. We can create personal routines that offer a sense of control. We can focus on stable, meaningful relationships. What if the answer isn't behind us, but within our grasp right now? The same applies to the need for connection. Many recall a past where neighborhood doors were always open, and social bonds felt tighter. While some of that shift is societal, the underlying human craving for belonging never disappears. We might binge-watch shows from our youth, unconsciously seeking that feeling of shared experience. But this passive consumption provides only a shadow of true connection. To truly address this need, we must actively seek out and foster genuine relationships in our current lives. We must engage, participate, and build. This isn't about dismissing the past. Far from it. The past holds valuable lessons. It provides context. But it is a historical record, not a living solution to present-day needs. The research shows that those who successfully navigate these feelings are not those who live in perpetual backward glances. Instead, they are the ones who use the past as a compass. They identify the true north of their underlying human needs. Then, they consciously orient their actions in the present. They build a life that actively addresses their desire for competence, for autonomy, for connection, and for meaning. They understand that the feeling of a golden age can be recreated, not by turning back the clock, but by building a more fulfilling present. This reframing is essential. It transforms a wistful longing into a powerful roadmap. It moves us from passive yearning to active creation. And it means that the true potential of understanding these deep-seated human drivers is not merely academic, it is profoundly practical. It empowers us. That empowerment stems from seeing beyond the obvious. We often assume a deep-seated longing for the past simply means a wish to escape. It feels like a desire for simpler times, a quiet life, free from the crushing weight of modern pressures. Our minds conjure idyllic scenes, crackling fires warming humble cabins, handmade quilts spread across sturdy beds, sun-drenched fields stretching toward an endless horizon. We picture a world where worries melted away with the setting sun, replaced by the comforting rhythm of nature. But this surface-level explanation, while incredibly appealing, misses something crucial. It fails to explain the true depth of the resonance, the specific details that captivate us so profoundly. If it were merely an escape, any pastoral scene would likely suffice. Yet, it is the homestead that calls to us, the pioneer existence, the very act of building and tending to a small, self-sufficient world. The real truth lies not in what was absent from that era, but in what was so profoundly, undeniably present. The draw isn't merely nostalgia for what was. It is a deep, subconscious yearning for a specific kind of active engagement and tangible consequence that modern life often obscures. It's the profound satisfaction of seeing your effort directly shape your world, of knowing your place within a clear, physical system. This isn't about wishing for hardship itself. It is about craving the clarity and meaning that hardship, paradoxically, often brought into daily existence. Consider the rhythm of a pioneer day. There was no abstract work disconnected from outcome. Every swing of an axe, every stitch of a seam, every seed planted, held immediate, visible meaning. The wood chopped warmed the home. The garment mended extended its life. The seed sown promised sustenance. This direct, unbroken chain between effort and result provided a constant, quiet affirmation of purpose. It was a language spoken not in words, but in the very fabric of one's surroundings. What does this mean for us today? It means that the peace we perceive in the pioneer sleepscape isn't a piece of idleness. It's a piece of earned belonging. It comes from a daily interaction with the physical world, where the boundaries of your domain were clear, and your impact was undeniable. The land wasn't just scenery, it was a partner, demanding effort but returning bounty. The home wasn't merely shelter, it was a testament to ongoing labor, a structure constantly being built, maintained, and lived within. Think about the sensory landscape of such a life. The smell of wood smoke lingering in the air, a constant reminder of warmth and cooking. The feel of rough-hewn timber beneath your hand, connecting you to the very materials of your dwelling. The sound of wind whistling through the eaves, or the distant lowing of cattle, anchoring you in the natural world. These weren't just background elements, they were active participants in a rich, immersive experience, constantly feeding back information about your environment and your place within it. Modern life, by contrast, often separates us from these direct connections. We press buttons, swipe screens, and receive goods and services through intricate, invisible supply chains. Our efforts often contribute to vast, abstract systems, making the link between our daily labor and its ultimate impact feel tenuous, even non-existent. This detachment can foster a subtle but persistent sense of unease, a feeling of being adrift in a world we don't quite control or fully understand. The pioneer, however, lived in a world of immediate cause and effect. A fence broken meant livestock lost. A crop unplanted meant hunger. This might seem like a burden, a constant pressure, but it also instilled a profound sense of agency. Their decisions, their physical efforts, directly determined their survival and comfort. There was no room for ambiguity about their contribution, it was written into every furrow of the field, every nail in the wall. This isn't to romanticize hardship. Life was undeniably brutal. But within that brutality lay a profound clarity. The problems were tangible. The solutions, though difficult, were often equally tangible. There was a directness to existence that we rarely encounter now, where so many challenges are abstract, systemic, and seemingly beyond individual influence. The pioneers' struggles forged a deep sense of competence and resilience. Could this be the missing piece? The quiet reality of the 1862 Homestead, then, isn't just about escaping noise. It's about escaping the ambiguity of modern existence. It's about finding solace in a world where your actions have clear, observable outcomes. Where the cycle of day and night, of seasons, dictates a rhythm that feels inherently right, inherently human. There was a self-evident truth to the necessity of daily tasks, a dignity in the sheer act of providing for oneself and one's family. This profound interaction with one's immediate environment cultivated a unique form of presence. There was little opportunity for the mind to wander into endless speculation or comparison. The demands of the present moment were too pressing, too real. This focused engagement, this absorption in tangible tasks, can be incredibly grounding. It silences the incessant chatter of internal anxieties, replacing them with the satisfying hum of productive effort. We see this same mechanism at play in modern hobbies that draw people in: gardening, woodworking, baking from scratch. What do they all share? A direct engagement with materials, a clear process, and a tangible outcome. You can see, touch, and even taste the results of your labor. These activities offer a miniature echo of the pioneer's daily reality, providing pockets of that same profound satisfaction and earned peace. The counterintuitive truth, then, is that the comfort derived from these historical scenes isn't simply about not having modern problems. It's about having a different set of problems, ones that allowed for a more direct, more integrated human experience. It offered a world where your hands and your mind were constantly collaborating to shape your immediate existence, fostering a deep, almost primal sense of belonging and competence. This understanding shifts our perspective entirely. It moves us beyond a simple yearning for simpler times, and towards a deeper recognition of fundamental human needs. It suggests that the allure isn't just a fantasy of ease, but a subconscious recognition of a specific kind of fulfillment that has become increasingly scarce. It's about the deep satisfaction found in mastering your immediate environment, however challenging that environment might be. What if this feeling is universal? It's about the profound sense of security that comes from knowing you can contribute, you can build, you can sustain. Even if the challenges were immense, the means of addressing them were often within reach, within the scope of your own two hands and your ingenuity. This personal agency, this direct connection to the fruits of one's labor, cultivates a robust inner peace, a calm born of competence rather than mere absence of struggle. So, when we gaze upon images of an 1862 homestead, or listen to the quiet sounds of pioneer life, we're not just seeing history. We are tapping into a profound, often unarticulated desire for this specific kind of human experience. We are glimpsing a time when the world presented clear challenges and offered equally clear opportunities for meaningful, hands-on engagement. This recognition provides a powerful new lens through which to view our own lives, and perhaps, even to reshape them. It means the quiet comfort isn't about escaping effort, but escaping meaningless effort. It's about reclaiming a sense of purpose that feels both immediate and deeply personal. It's about connecting with the fundamental human drive to build, to cultivate, to create a world, however small, that reflects our own efforts and provides a clear, undeniable sense of home. But what does this mean for our own modern lives, and the choices we make every single day? It's easy to dismiss these quiet historical moments as mere relics. Perhaps you picture dust motes dancing in a sunbeam, the smell of wood smoke, and a rhythmic, gentle creak. A world so profoundly different from your own daily routine. But what if the deep satisfaction, the profound sense of peace we've explored, isn't tied to the specifics of 1862? What if it springs from something far more fundamental? A human need that still whispers to us today, even amidst the noise. The truth is, the pioneer sleepscape isn't just a historical curiosity. It's a powerful metaphor. It points to an innate craving for ownership, for meaningful effort, and for a life that feels genuinely ours. This feeling transcends time and circumstance. You might not own sprawling acres of land. You may live in a bustling city apartment. Your daily commute might involve crowded trains, not open fields. Yet, the core human drive to cultivate, to build, to create a personal world remains. Consider the person who meticulously tends a tiny balcony garden. They might grow a single tomato plant, or a cluster of vibrant herbs. It isn't about feeding a family for a year. It's about the quiet ritual of watering, watching, and nurturing. That small patch of green becomes their dominion. This isn't about grand gestures. It's about the small, consistent acts of creation. The joy of harvesting that first ripe tomato offers a glimpse. It's a direct connection to effort, a tangible reward. This feeling resonates deeply. Or perhaps you've experienced it with a personal project. Maybe you spent hours learning a new skill. You might have mastered a complex recipe, or finally fixed that leaky faucet yourself. The sense of accomplishment isn't just about the outcome. It's about the journey. Think about the writer who carefully crafts each sentence of a personal blog. They aren't seeking millions of readers. They are building a digital homestead, word by careful word. Each paragraph represents a small act of cultivation. It shapes a space that reflects their unique voice. This isn't just about output. It's about the process of creation. The quiet focus. The feeling of shaping something from nothing. It's the same deep current that flowed through the homesteaders. It offers a profound sense of self-reliance. Many believe modern life has stripped us of these opportunities. We buy ready-made goods. We consume content rather than create it. Our work often feels disconnected from a tangible outcome. But this perspective misses the subtle shifts. The fundamental human desire for ownership hasn't vanished. It simply manifests in new forms. We might curate a digital library. We might meticulously organize our personal space. We might dedicate ourselves to a craft or hobby. The satisfaction of a well-organized desk, a perfectly maintained toolkit, or a thoughtfully curated playlist all tap into this same impulse. It's about creating order. It's about leaving a personal imprint. It's about making a corner of the world distinctly yours. This sense of ownership extends beyond physical things. It applies to our time. To our skills. To our attention. When we choose to spend our hours deliberately, we are, in a very real sense, cultivating our own lives. We are homesteading our existence. The pioneer Sleepscape teaches us about peace found in purpose. It highlights the calm that comes from knowing your efforts directly shape your world. This isn't exclusive to pioneers. It's available to anyone who seeks it. Imagine the focused calm of a chef preparing a meal from scratch. The rhythmic chop of vegetables. The sizzle of oil. The slow transformation of raw ingredients into something nourishing and beautiful. This is a modern ritual of creation. The quiet satisfaction of that process mirrors the homesteader's day. Each step is deliberate. Each action contributes to a larger, meaningful whole. There's no rush, just presence. This creates a profound sense of well-being. What about the person who dedicates time each day to learning a new language? The slow, steady accumulation of words and grammar. The small victories of understanding a new phrase. This builds a different kind of personal world. A world of expanded understanding. This isn't about escaping modernity. It's about finding its hidden rhythms. It's about reclaiming moments of intentionality. It's about rediscovering the quiet power of consistent, meaningful effort. This is where true resonance lies. The prevailing wisdom suggests we crave excitement, constant stimulation. We are told to chase the next big thing. But the quiet reality of the homestead whispers a different truth. It's in the mundane details that deep satisfaction often hides. It's in the slow unfolding of a project. The steady progress of a skill. The daily tending of a small corner of your life. These are the modern equivalents of plowing a field or mending a fence. They are acts of quiet self-possession. This feeling isn't about nostalgia for a past you never knew. It's about recognizing a timeless human need. The need to feel capable. The need to feel connected to the fruits of your labor. The need to feel truly at home in your own life. When we talk about the power of the 1862 homestead, we aren't suggesting you abandon your current life. We are pointing to the feeling it evokes. That profound resonance. That sense of belonging and purposeful existence. It's about recognizing those moments in your own life. The quiet satisfaction of completing a challenging task. The joy of nurturing a creative endeavor. The peace of a space you've thoughtfully arranged. These are all echoes of the homestead. The world may have changed dramatically. Our tools are different. Our challenges are new. But the human heart still seeks the same fundamental comforts. It longs for a sense of agency. It yearns for the quiet dignity of building. So, before you dismiss these historical insights as irrelevant, consider their essence. They are not about the past. They are about enduring human truths. They are about the quiet mechanics of a deeply satisfying life. They invite us to look closer at our own lives. To identify where we feel that same sense of ownership. That same resonance. That quiet, profound satisfaction. It's often in the places we least expect. What if the things that bring you the most peace, the most genuine joy, are already tapping into this ancient wisdom? What if the feeling of home isn't just a place, but a state of being you can cultivate anywhere? We've journeyed through the quiet echoes of history, exploring how the profound resonance of an 1862 homestead speaks to us today. You've seen how that feeling of home, that deep sense of belonging, isn't just about a physical place. It's a state of being, a mindset you can cultivate, no matter where you stand. But what if the deepest truth about this ancient wisdom isn't just about feeling good? What if it's a powerful, tangible force that can reshape your entire world? What if it holds the key to unlocking a level of calm and purpose you've only ever dreamed of? For too long, the prevailing wisdom has painted this fascination with simpler times as mere nostalgia. A longing for a past that never truly existed, or at least one we can't reclaim. It suggests we yearn for a bygone era simply because life seemed less complicated. We imagine sun-drenched fields, the scent of wood smoke, and a slower pace. This view posits that our modern anxieties are so overwhelming, we seek refuge in an idealized, almost childlike, vision of history. It's a beautiful thought, a comforting escape from relentless digital noise and constant demands. We tell ourselves it's about the lack of technology, the absence of global pressures, the simple comfort of knowing your neighbor. This perspective, while appealing, misses the profound, active mechanism at play. It reduces a powerful inner transformation to a passive wish. But this isn't just about wishing for less. It isn't simply a yearning for quiet. The real mechanism, the true power behind the pioneer sleepscape, runs far deeper than sentimental longing. It's not just the absence of modern stressors that created that profound sense of peace. It was the presence of something else entirely. Something actively built, day by day, by hands and spirit. The pioneers weren't just living in a simpler time, they were creating it, moment by moment. They faced immense hardship, isolation, and uncertainty. Their lives were anything but simple in the conventional sense. Yet, they cultivated a unique kind of peace, a deep, abiding contentment often elusive in our hyper-connected world. What was their secret? It wasn't about avoiding complexity. It was about mastering it, through a very specific set of practices and a unique way of engaging with their immediate environment. Consider the daily rhythms of an 1862 homestead. Every action carried tangible weight. Planting a seed wasn't a casual hobby, it was a direct investment in survival. Chopping wood wasn't just exercise, it was warmth for the coming winter. Building a fence wasn't a weekend project, it defined the boundaries of your world, protecting your family and your livelihood. Each task, no matter how small, was a direct link between effort and outcome. There was no abstract corporate ladder, no distant boss, no invisible algorithm dictating your value. Your worth was etched into the soil, hammered into the timber, woven into the fabric of your daily existence. This direct, undeniable feedback loop, this immediate consequence of action, fostered something profound, absolute agency. This agency wasn't just about physical tasks. It extended to the very fabric of their inner lives. When every meal, every stitch of clothing, every shelter from the storm was a direct result of your own labor or the labor of your immediate community, a deep sense of self-reliance bloomed. This wasn't a lonely self-reliance, but one deeply intertwined with the land and the few souls around you. It forged a quiet confidence, an unshakable belief in one's capacity to meet life's challenges. They didn't just react to their environment, they shaped it. They didn't just experience life, they built it. This active, intentional creation of their world, both external and internal, is where the true power lies. The profound resonance we feel today, that inexplicable pull towards the pioneer sleepscape, isn't merely a yearning for what's gone. It's a subconscious recognition of this active, intentional cultivation of peace. It's an intuition that true contentment comes not from being given a simpler life, but from building one. It's the understanding that the most profound sense of security isn't found in external guarantees, but in the internal fortitude forged by tangible creation. This is the cornerstone of the quiet reality, the mechanism that often gets mislabeled as mere nostalgia. It's a blueprint for creating meaning, for finding purpose in the everyday. What I'm about to show you is the peace most people never reach. It's the critical insight that transforms this historical observation into a practical, powerful tool for your own life. We've touched on the internal state, the feeling of home, but now we must understand how it's actively constructed. This isn't about moving to a farm. It's about extracting the core principles of pioneer living and applying them to the very challenges of your modern existence. The true value bomb, the hidden truth of the 1862 homestead, is this: the deepest peace and purpose arise from the intentional creation of your immediate reality. It's not about owning vast tracts of land or forsaking modern conveniences. It's about recognizing that the pioneers' profound sense of peace came from a relentless, daily engagement with tangible tasks that yielded visible results. They lived in a constant feedback loop of effort and consequence, where their actions directly shaped their survival and comfort. This direct connection, this unmediated relationship with their world, fostered an unshakable inner landscape. They weren't waiting for external validation, their validation was in the rising bread, the sturdy roof, the growing crop. This principle is entirely transferable. You don't need a plow and a log cabin to experience this. You need to identify the areas of your life where you feel a lack of agency, where the connection between your effort and the outcome feels severed. Then, you must intentionally re-establish that connection. It might be cultivating a small garden on your balcony, learning a new skill that produces a physical object, or taking direct control of a neglected corner of your home. It's about choosing to engage with tasks that offer immediate, tangible feedback. It's about turning passive consumption into active creation. This isn't just about hobbies, it's about reshaping your psychological relationship with your environment. It's about creating your own personal homestead of meaning, wherever you are. This is the profound, active mechanism that underpins the quiet resonance of the past. It's a call to build, to shape, to engage directly with the world around you, and in doing so, to build your own inner peace. We've seen that true peace isn't just a longing for the past. It's an active, intentional creation. It stems from cultivating agency and engaging in tangible tasks that yield visible results. This powerful principle, extracted from the quiet reality of the 1862 homestead, is entirely transferable to your modern life. It's about building your own meaning, shaping your own inner landscape, one deliberate action at a time. But how do you begin to apply these deep, fundamental truths to the very specific challenges of your daily life? How do you take the profound lesson of intentional creation and weave it into the fabric of your routines, your relationships, and your aspirations? In the next chapter, we'll explore exactly what this means for you, offering concrete pathways to integrate these timeless principles. We'll uncover how you can cultivate your own personal pioneer sleepscape, transforming your home, your work, and your inner world. The true answer, the quiet power waiting to reshape your world, lies in something far simpler, and yet far more profound, than any grand gesture or sweeping transformation. It is the counterintuitive truth that the deepest sense of peace, the unshakable resonance of belonging, emerges not from monumental achievements, but from the deliberate, often invisible, accumulation of tiny, intentional acts. Imagine a homesteader, facing a vast, untamed landscape. Their task was immense. Yet, the profound connection they forged with their land, the sleepscape of deep contentment, did not spring from the initial deed or the final structure. It grew, day by day, from the quiet ritual of turning soil, mending a fence post, or carefully preserving food. These were small, deliberate choices, repeated endlessly. They were not aiming for immediate recognition. They were simply building, piece by painstaking piece, a life interwoven with their environment. This is the hidden mechanism. We often seek the grand solution, the single breakthrough that will instantly bring us joy or purpose. We look for the finished product, the perfectly curated home, the ideal job, the flawless relationship. But this pursuit often leaves us feeling perpetually restless, always chasing a horizon that recedes as we approach it. We become consumers of experiences, rather than creators of our own realities. The pioneer's wisdom whispers a different path. It suggests that genuine fulfillment is a byproduct of persistent, mindful engagement with the mundane. It is in the careful selection of a seed, the steady rhythm of a hammer, the patient tending of a fire. Each small action, imbued with intention, builds a layer of meaning. These are the quiet acts of creation that, over time, construct an inner landscape as robust and comforting as any physical dwelling. Consider your own daily life. How many moments pass by unexamined, merely endured, or rushed through? We might view cleaning as a chore, cooking as a necessity, or a simple walk as just transportation. But what if these moments held the key? What if the act of mindfully washing a dish, truly feeling the warmth of the water, the texture of the soap, became a tiny act of intentional creation? What if preparing a meal, from selecting ingredients to plating, was seen as a deliberate craft, a gift to yourself or others? This isn't about romanticizing drudgery. It's about recognizing the transformative power of presence. It's about shifting our perception from merely doing to consciously creating. When you tend to your surroundings, not out of obligation, but with a quiet sense of purpose, you imbue that space with a part of yourself. You are actively shaping your immediate world, making it a reflection of your care and intention. This subtle act of ownership grounds you. It creates a deep, unspoken dialogue between you and your environment. This is where the personal pioneer sleepscape truly comes alive. It's not about moving to a cabin in the woods. It's about cultivating that same profound connection within your existing life. Your home becomes more than just a place where you reside. It transforms into a living testament to your intentional choices, your small acts of care. Every book carefully placed, every plant lovingly watered, every surface thoughtfully cleaned, contributes to a silent narrative of belonging. This principle extends far beyond physical spaces. It permeates your work, your relationships, and your inner world. In your professional life, it means approaching tasks, however small, with a craftsman's dedication. It's not just about completing the project, it's about the deliberate effort, the focused problem solving, the quiet satisfaction of a job well done. This isn't about perfection, it's about presence and purpose. It builds a sense of mastery, a quiet confidence that emanates from within. In relationships, the impact is perhaps most profound. We often believe grand gestures define our connections. Yet, true intimacy is woven from countless small threads of attention, a listening ear, a thoughtful word, a shared moment of silence, a consistent act of kindness. These are the micro-acts of relational creation. They build a foundation of trust and understanding, a shared history of presence that withstands the inevitable storms. These quiet, consistent efforts are the bedrock of lasting bonds. The most counterintuitive part. This process isn't about seeking external validation. It is an intrinsically rewarding journey. The homesteader didn't build for an audience, they built for survival, for comfort, for a future. The deep satisfaction came from the act itself, from the tangible manifestation of their effort. Similarly, your personal pioneer sleepscape is built for you. Its value isn't measured by likes or applause, but by the quiet sense of coherence and calm it instills in your soul. This shift in perspective is challenging in our fast-paced, results-driven world. We are conditioned to seek immediate gratification, to measure success by visible outcomes. Embracing the power of micro-acts requires patience. It demands a re-evaluation of what truly constitutes progress. It asks us to slow down, to notice, to imbue the ordinary with extraordinary attention. But the reward is immense. It is a liberation from the constant striving, the endless pursuit of external markers. It is the discovery that true contentment resides not in what you acquire, but in what you consciously create. It is the understanding that peace is not found in a distant future, but in the present moment, in the deliberate shaping of your immediate reality. This is the profound resonance the 1862 Homestead offers us today. It reminds us that our lives are not merely a series of events to be passively experienced. They are canvases, waiting for our intentional strokes. Each small, deliberate act, whether it's tending a plant, writing a thoughtful email, or simply creating a moment of quiet reflection, is a brushstroke. Over time, these strokes accumulate, forming a masterpiece of your own making, a personal sleepscape of unparalleled depth and meaning. This is the quiet revolution. This is the unshakable foundation. This is what it means to truly build a life that resonates with purpose and peace. This is what it means to truly build a life that resonates with purpose and peace. It's a profound